our day. Please welcome our president, Mrs. Hildegard Müller. We are very happy that she has the time today to be with us. As it is IAA, she has to leave afterwards, but now we are having her here, and please welcome.
Distinguished speakers, presidents, I'm very happy to be here, and I apologize that I have to go, but as I mentioned, my life is in 20 minutes part during the IAA, so I have to apologize to leave it. I take this dialogue between Germany and India for very serious, absolutely necessary to intensify our efforts to work together. So I'm very happy to all who are involved in organizing this conference, and a huge thank you. As you mentioned, this month today is our 15th India Day here in Hanover. So that's the last chance to make my mobile phone silent. Since our first IAA India Day in 2007, this conference at the IAA has become a good tradition. Furthermore, an expression of the close partnership between India and Germany, and a meeting point for high-level representatives from the automotive industry and politics. In recent years, topics such as cooperation in the field of electric mobility, battery technologies, and the development of alternative fuels have formed the focus of our event. These issues remain relevant for both of our countries and continue to shape current discussions in politics and in the automotive industry. This year at the IAA Transportation, we continue with our tradition and draw attention to the commercial vehicle sector. We look forward to hearing today from our distinguished speakers about new trends and opportunities for Indo-German cooperation in the commercial vehicle sector. Our event is hosted in collaboration with the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce and our Indian sister association, ACMA and SIAM. The Embassy of India is in Berlin, and their Make in India Mittelstand program. I would like especially thank to the Make in India Mittelstand program for sponsoring the catering of today's event. Within this strong and long-standing partnership amongst our partners, we continue to pursue the goal of supporting the sustainable development of the automotive industry and strengthening the exchange between the players in the automotive industry. Our partnership is very much supported by the valuable work within the framework of the Indo-German Working Group on Automotive, which was founded in 2008. The Indo-German Working Group is an important platform for developing and discussing the topics that affect the future of our industry. We therefore wish to express our very special thanks to both the Indian Ministry of Heavy Industries and the German Federal Ministry of Digital and Transport for their intensive support of this platform. Ladies and gentlemen, under the motto People and Goods on the Move, the IAA Transportation is today the leading international platform for logistics, commercial vehicles, buses, and the transport sector. IAA Transportation 2024 has seen a remarkable increase in exhibitors this year. With over 1,700 exhibitors from 41 countries, the number is 20% higher than at the IAA Transportation 2022. Additionally, our even boasts a record international participation of 73%, reflecting its own growing global appeal. The increased number of exhibitors also means that more halls will be occupied compared to the previous IAA Transportation, underscoring its significance as a central platform for showcasing new technologies and developments in the transport and commercial vehicle sector. This year's event will feature over 145 world and trade fair premieres and numerous new innovations. The automotive and commercial vehicle industry is clearly on the path of transformation, and the IAA Transportation demonstrates that we already have the products for climate neutral and digital mobility of the future. The goals are clearly defined. The innovations are ready for serious productions. Now, the vehicles need to hit on the road. For this, the appropriate framework conditions are necessary, along with a strategic, integrated industrial policy agenda that enables the expansion of the necessary charging infrastructure. Our mission is an internationally economical, successful automotive industry that is committed to the goal of climate neutrality and motivates other regions to follow this success story. Generally speaking, climate neutrality in transport is a collective task. Only with common solution and international harmonized standards, rather than separate national ones, especially in the future-orientated fields of electromobility, autonomous driving and connected mobility, only with that we can succeed in achieving the necessary transformation. International cooperation and the joint collaboration between the EU, Germany and India are an important pillar on the way to this transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, Indo-German cooperation has a long history. For Germany is India an important and reliable partner that is gaining more and more significance. In 2023, Indo-German bilateral trade in goods exceeded the trade volume from 2022 and is at a record level. The trade value increased by 5% and amounted to $33 billion. Today, German automotive industry, manufacturers and suppliers are represented in India with more than 1,400 location and production plants. India's importance as a sales market and production location continues to grow. With a market volume of 4.0 million passenger cars in 2023, the Indian passenger car market was once again the third largest single market in the world behind China and the USA. Sales grew by 4% compared to the previous year. Car production in India also increased last year. In 2023, 4.4 million passenger cars were manufactured in India, the same number as in the previous year. In the Indian market for heavy commercial vehicles, 358,000 vehicles were sold in 2023. This makes India the third largest single market for heavy commercial vehicles. Only China and the US were larger. The Indian market for commercial vehicles is one of the largest in the world. My colleagues from ACMA and SIAM will later return on further elaborate on this, as well as the commercial vehicle part. India also offers great potential for the future with a growing population, economic growth rates, and an expanding middle class are increasing the need for mobility and the demand for cars. These numbers show us the significance of India as one of the leading countries for manufacturing of vehicles and a growing automotive market. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in economically and politically challenging times. There is the ongoing Russian war of aggressive in Ukraine or the tense situation in the Middle East. Geopolitical uncertainties are also affecting the stability of supply chains and the supply of raw materials. And the trend towards more and more protectionism, more and higher tariffs is putting pressure on global trade. The lack of trade agreements, especially in the European Union, is making this situation even more difficult. In this regard, we support the EU-India negotiations on a balanced, ambitious, comprehensive and mutually beneficial trade agreement, which were relaunched in 2022. We hope that the negotiations will reach a goal to conclude the negotiations as soon as possible. Dear guests, I would like to draw your attention on two upcoming events. From 24th to 26th of October, the Asia-Pacific Conference of German Business will take place in New Delhi, followed by the Indo-German Intergovernmental Consultations. Second important event will be the Parade Mobility Global Expo 2025, which takes place from 17th to 22nd January, also in New Delhi. Our colleagues from the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce at ACMA and SIAM are happy to provide you with more information on both of the events. I would like to express my thanks once again to our partners in India for for the outstanding and continuous cooperation we enjoy. They include the Indo-German Ministry of Heavy Industries, our Indian sister association ACMA and SIAM, the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, the Embassy of India in Berlin, and the distinguished speakers today, and a lot of people who are in the room today. We are very happy to host 50 exhibitors from India. Sorry, I just opened the China. We are happy to host 50 exhibitors from India this year, IAA Transportation. Once again, ACMA has booked a joint booth for the member companies. Please be invited to visit the booth in Hall 12, booth A50. Is the host of the IAA, the VDA, wishes to thank its guests for coming here today. I wish you an insightful discussion and a great IAA Transportation. Finally, I would like to thank my team from VDA, especially Ms. Angela Manz and Marius Ochel, to organize today's event. They are also happy to support. If you're a member, have questions on India or want to cooperate, please come back to us. International cooperation is important as never before. We need to engage in times of disruption and geopolitical challenges. Thank you to all of you for coming to Hanover and your interest today. My best wishes to all of you, and have a fruitful time at IAA Transportation and a great dialogue today. Thank you very much.
Affair of the Embassy of India in Berlin, Mr. Mubarak. Mr. Mubarak already joined 2001 at the Indian Foreign Service and served as an ambassador in Central America and Eastern Africa, and is now a charge d'affaires in Berlin. Yeah, please welcome and thank you for giving us your welcome remarks.
Before President VDA leaves, I will also say that President VDA, President ACMA, DG SIAM, and MD IGCC, and all the industrial leaders who have gathered here, a very good afternoon to all of you. We recently concluded a visit of our External Affairs Minister. We met all the leadership, starting with Chancellor, all the key ministers here, and also that was a visit for the preparation of the intergovernmental consultations. It went off very well, and as President VDA said, that we are also looking forward for the IGC and APK, which will happen in October, which is again a great platform for businesses to interact with one another. And as for automobiles is concerned, I was posted as ambassador in Guatemala. It's a Central American country, and Indian two-wheelers are quite popular there. So we opened an TVS showroom there, and we had an expert from the Central American automobile industry who told me that all BMW bikes below 500cc are manufactured by the TVS. And he also told that Mission Impossible 5, the Tom Cruise is using a BMW bike which was manufactured in India. So as we know that we became the 5th largest economy, and we are growing at a rate of 8%, and if this continues, then we would become the 3rd largest economy in a few years' time. And Germany today is the 3rd largest economy, and we have a trade of $33 billion, which is the highest. And as per the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce's report, the German companies in India have a very positive view of their current business in India. And the Indian economy itself is doing extremely well. 10 years back, we were called the Fragile Five, and today we are the one of the top 5 economies of the world. And like President VDA, which is again something I am hearing, maybe I am not aware of, if we are consuming 1.4 million passenger cars, and if we are manufacturing 4.4 million, then we are also exporting 3 million passenger cars, which is itself a great accomplishment. We are the 3rd largest automobile market, and the largest manufacturer of two-wheelers, tractors, and the 2nd largest manufacturer of buses and the third largest manufacturer of heavy trucks. And this year we had a record of the investments in FDI investments in Indian auto component industry. So while the whole world is talking about, especially the Western world is talking about stagnation, India is talking about record investments coming into the automobile industry. There is a very strong push in the EV market in India, and we have been targeting a 50% CAGR between 22 to 30, and German companies, Mercedes, BMW, Daimler, all of them have been doing very good business in India. India aims to have at least 30% of all its vehicles sold in 2030 as EVs. The FAME 1 and the FAME 2 schemes to promote EVs were very successful, and now we have moved on, and we have a new scheme now which is again promoting the battery swapping and also charging facilities around India. Opportunities in the automobile sector, we have a 100% FDI under automotive group, and India is on track to become the largest EV market by 2030 with a total investment opportunity of 200 billion US dollars coming over a period of 8 to 10 years. And we have the skilled manpower. I was just attending an event 2-3 days back where we were told that it was Indo-German Young Leaders platform. While the 40,000 engineers graduate in a year in Germany, we have 1 million engineers who graduate from India, and also the global capacity centers. If you see, like Mercedes, which started with 40 people, has now 88,000 people now in its innovation center in India. And we also have some 1,600 global capacity centers in India, which generate a revenue of 120 billion US dollars every year. So this shows that India is a hub of global talent, and we have a lot of our median age is 28, and we have a lot of young people who are skilled and who can be employed in various technically required industries. And our PLI scheme again has supported the automobile sector in a big way with incentives up to 18%. And this is again, we have this national policy of biofuels, which again targets 20% of blending in petrol, but then which had an original target of 2030, but we have brought it down to 2025, 26. Then we have this battery swapping policy, which is also encouraging battery swapping and designated charging stations. Then in March 2024, we had the national e-vehicle policy, and companies which are ready for manufacturing facilities for e-vehicles will be allowed limited import of cars at low customs duty, and such companies will have to set up manufacturing facilities in India in 3 years and attain localization level of 50% by the 5th year. To conclude, I would again say that the 18th Asia Pacific Conference that will happen from 24th to 26th October is a great opportunity for businesses, and I'm glad to note that the ACMA and also SIAM and VDA they have a partnership which is progressing well. And again, I thank VDA for organizing this event and also all the other partners, and thank you very much.
Mr. Mubarak, Ms. Müller, who was with us earlier, the VDA team, Vinnie, Rajesh, dignitaries and esteemed guests, namaskar. A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for inviting me to make an address at the India Day. I'm very glad that you have continued with the tradition of organizing the India Day in the backdrop of the IAA. The ties between our two nations and industries are historic and they must be celebrated. I'm also very appreciative of the strong ties between ACMA and VDA, and it's heartening that these are getting stronger with every passing year. Today, I'll make a short address sharing my thoughts of the Indian automotive and the auto component industry, the opportunities thereof. And then I will request Vinnie to come on and make a short presentation. This event is happening at a time when global events surround us. There's geopolitical tensions, there are challenges. But amongst all of this, India still remains a beacon of hope. We're a global sweet spot. In the backdrop of strong macroeconomic fundamentals, India and the Indian automotive industry continue to grow steadfast. The auto component sector is today a vital part of India's economy, contributing about 20 to 25% to our manufacturing GDP and about 3% to the overall GDP of the country. We support about 5 million jobs. Post the pandemic, all segments of the vehicle industry in India seem to have recovered well in FY24, leading to growth in supply of components. Added to this, there have been reasonably strong exports that are happening. The auto component sector grew to about $74.1 billion, a 10% increase, marking our best performance so far. The component supply to OEMs grew by 9%, notably, while overall merchandise export from India declined, the auto component exports grew by 5.5% to $21.2 billion, resulting in a trade surplus of $300 million. Europe constituted 30% of our overall exports and is our leading trade partner. With average EV penetration across all vehicle segments hovering slightly less than 5%, the EV industry accounted for 6% of the auto component industry's total turnover. Going forward, the auto component sector will witness strong growth in the short and the medium term. Of course, our government has set very ambitious targets for all of us. It wants component exports to grow to 100 billion by 2030 and domestic supplies to reach 100 billion also by 2030. This is a tall order, but we are willing to take the challenge. To realize this goal, the industry will have to invest heavily in R&D and innovation, as also significantly scale up integrating digitization into manufacturing and, of course, world-class quality. Skilling will also have to be stepped up, and herein lies the opportunity for our German friends to join hands with us. As the auto industry in India evolves and the Government of India focuses on stricter norms for emission and safety, IT and electronic content are steadily growing in vehicles. With India's well-established strengths in software and embedded systems, developing and manufacturing auto electronics is an excellent opportunity for the Indo-German cooperation. That apart, ACMA will be glad to connect German small and medium-scale enterprises with their Indian counterparts for suitable matchmaking. Last but not the least, let me extend a very cordial invitation to all our friends from the German automotive industry to the forthcoming Bharat Mobility Auto Expo Component Show from January 18 to 21 in New Delhi. The ACMA Secretariat will be glad to help you and support you in case you would like to exhibit there or even be a business visitor. I now invite Vinnie, DG ACMA, to make a short presentation on the industry. Thank you. Namaskar.
To all of you, let me quickly walk you through a small presentation on the component industry. Bear with me, there's some amount of statistics. So, a quick introduction to ACMA. We sort of almost 60 years of age. My gray hair does that. And we represent over 1,000 companies, although the automotive value chain is very long and winding, but we represent some of the best in the country. So this is an overview, and Mrs. Müller did talk about the opportunities, the President talked about the opportunity. But if you look at the bottom here, the vehicle penetration in the country is still very, very low, and herein lies the opportunity both for the vehicle industry and the component industry. My friend Rajesh will talk much in details about the vehicle industry. But let me talk to you about the entire industry in a nutshell. The automotive industry, the auto component industry, and the vehicle industry together are close to $220 billion industry. The vehicle industry is around $150 billion. The component industry is around $75 billion. And together we are driving the Indian economy. We're one of the highest taxpayers. Coming to the auto component industry that we proudly represent, as I said, we're a $74 billion industry today. And as the consumption of vehicle in size grows larger, more and more SUVs, more and more tractor trailers, more and more higher CCs of bikes, the value add from the auto component industry is increasingly better and higher. And added to that is the government regulations. We follow the UNECE norms. Mrs. Müller talked about quality and standards. President alluded to that. So, our vehicles today are at par with the European vehicles, and that is again calling for the auto component industry to up their game in value addition, up their game in terms of R&D, up their games in terms of innovations. This is what all that we produce, and because of a huge shift in the industry that's happening today across the world today, 6% of our turnover comes from electric vehicles. But when you look at the customers, 44% of our turnover comes from the passenger vehicles, another quarter comes from the commercial vehicles, and about a fifth comes from the two-wheeler industry. We are a very export competitive industry. We export almost 30% of what we produce, but also, like any other industry that's well integrated into the global value chain, we also import. But the impressive or the moot point is that we are export surplus. We export more than we import. And interestingly, the cumulative growth rate of exports is double of that of imports. So we are good. Just to give you a snapshot of our key markets, Europe is a very important market for us, so is US. They both account for 30% each of what we export. I just wanted to sort of also point out that most global OEMs and tier ones have their IPOs in India. In fact, we have more than 45 IPOs that are active. And these IPOs actually aggregate exports and then they ship out to the mother country. And you can see quite a few German names out here which are helping our export. And that is why we say that Germany, the German auto industry, is very important to us. Here is a chart on the region-wise import, and like the world over, there's a significant import that happens from Asia and that too from China. These are the top 10 countries that we export and import from, and you would see that here again, Germany is a very significant partner. 8% of our exports go to Germany, and the 20-odd billion that we import, 11% is from Germany. So our trade with Germany is around $4 billion that export and import taken together. We also have a very, very vibrant aftermarket. As the vehicle base goes, you have an aftermarket, very much like here, and it's maturing. Just to give you an insight, as I said, there are very stringent regulations on emission, on safety. There are many policies that the government has today to promote the industry, the conventional industry, as well as the new age industry. Just about last week, the Prime Minister announced a very impressive scheme with an endowment of $3.5 billion US. That's looking at promoting 14,000 electric buses. That's looking at 2.5 million two-wheelers and around 300,000 three-wheelers, all electric. And that all is well for the auto component industry. And then that apart, there's another scheme with around $375 million US. And that's to promote 38,000 electric buses in public-private partnership mode. So clearly, we're sort of going hammers and tongs when it comes to electric mobility, and that's a huge opportunity for all of us together. I mean, I talked about the trade, so just about a little less than $4 billion, that's a trade. And there's nothing more scope for improvement. Yeah. ACMA is happy to support and partner with Germany and the European Union. And we believe in free and fair trade. Fair is also important to be noted. So, yeah, so we are all together working on the India-EU FTA. Let's see how it progresses. On the challenges and the opportunities, the challenges first, we all talked about the dynamics of the global geopolitical situation. Hopefully it will get over sooner than later. And of course that has its ramification, but in terms of opportunity, as President said, we're a global sweet spot. We're the fastest growing economy today. There's a huge focus on carbon neutrality by our government, and herein is something that we should work together on to see how we can harness this opportunity. Again, both the presidents talked about Bharat mobility, so we're here to invite you. I also invite you to the ACMA stand in hall number 12. There are around 50 companies, and we'll be very happy to give you a tour. So, thank you for having us. Good luck.
As is mentioned, I represent the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, and I will make a brief presentation in the context of the Bharat Mobility Global Expo, which has been mentioned a couple of times before me. So in that context, I'll also talk about the Indian commercial vehicle industry. So, as I said, we'll have two elements to the presentation. One is on the commercial vehicle perspective, where we are, and then what the Bharat Mobility Global Expo. So this has been again spoken about in the initial addresses, but to just put it in perspective, India is currently the 5th largest economy in the world, and as been mentioned, we aspire to the 3rd largest economy by 2027. We are currently the 3rd largest passenger vehicle market in the world, and we now the largest two-wheeler market in the world. We are looking at a per capita income to grow to roughly around 2,730 from 2,730 currently to $12,400 by 2047, and we have a target or aspiration to touch net zero by 2070. So this is broadly where we are currently, and our aspirational targets also there. And as I mentioned, we are set to become the 3rd largest economy by 2027. So we are currently, from an automobile perspective, we are nearly 7% of India's GDP, 40% of India's manufacturing GDP. We contribute roughly 14 to 15% to the GST tax collection in India, and we contribute roughly around 30 million employment, both direct and indirect. And we are the first, as the largest tractor and three-wheeler manufacturer, and the 2nd largest two-wheeler manufacturer. So as I said, first we are the largest two-wheeler domestic sales, but the 2nd largest two-wheeler manufacturer. We are the 4th largest passenger vehicle manufacturer, and also the 3rd largest passenger vehicle market. So there's difference in both market and production. And we are also the 3rd largest construction equipment market globally. So clearly we are a very significant player in the global market, and we are aspiring to be a much bigger player going forward. And we are currently $240 billion in size of the Indian automotive industry. Coming to the commercial vehicle industry. Commercial vehicle industry, if you notice the numbers here, clearly over a period of last 4 years, we're growing at 19% CAGR. 967,000 vehicles, commercial vehicles were sold last year in the Indian market. But clearly there is a lot happening in the market, and I will explain that in the subsequent slides, but there's a lot happening in the commercial vehicle industry in India. So there are 5 trends which I want to highlight. One, of course, is the policy environment. There's a lot happening on regulations. It was also referred to in the previous speeches. There's discussion happening on phase 3 emission norms, BS7, extended producer responsibility, EPR. There's a lot of work happening on safety, electronic stability control, AEBS, potential ADAS standards. We've also talked a lot about AC cabins so that there will be increased comfort standards in all the trucks. That's one element of policy environment. The second trend is what's happening on the alternate powertrains. There's a lot of focus on hydrogen ICE in commercial vehicles, also hydrogen fuel cells, electrification, which is referred to in, I think, Vinnie's speech. There's a lot of focus happening on electrification, especially in bus and small commercial vehicle segment, and CNG and LNG. So a lot happening on alternate powertrains across segments, ranging from hydrogen ICE to fuel cell to electrification to CNG and LNG. Third is on disruptive technology. A lot happening on connected vehicles. There's a demand for digitalization, e-ports, which is electronic proof of delivery, data analytics, software-defined vehicles. So there's a lot happening on disruptive technology within the commercial vehicle space. Fourth is the multimodal models. There's a lot of focus happening on rail freight. So how do you move to a multimodal mix and that's, you can see that push and pressure coming in from the government perspective and also from business environment perspective. And last is the changing customer needs. We are moving towards different types of service-centric models, which I will speak a little bit more about in subsequent slides, which includes advertising in using telematics and some data-led decisions. So these are the 5 emerging trends in the Indian commercial vehicle market in the automotive industry. So how are the different OEMs managing it, and what is happening in different types of in those current 5 trends which I mentioned? Clearly, there are different types of business models coming up, and I mentioned three elements here: changing business models, data-led decision making, and after-sales service model. So clearly, business model perspective, you're seeing a lot of focus on buses and trucks and on a service and lease, on a rent, or a direct-to-consumer approach. And there are examples referred to in the slide, tell you various OEMs are coming out with various announcements in India, but there are clear trends and emerging on newer business models vis-a-vis leasing, servicing, and different types of direct-to-consumer approaches. Second is digital platforms. There are different types of digital platforms that are coming in, and different OEMs are coming out with different models. I've referred to 1 or 2 examples here, but different OEMs are coming with different models which are enabling data-driven decision vis-a-vis different types of consumer connects. Third is after-sales service model. There's a different trend emerging there in terms of uptime center support. How do you use different types of mechanism to reach out and make sure that all those diagnostic solutions are done on time. So these are 3 elements of things which are changing in India in the commercial vehicle space. And since we spoke about digitalization, we expanded further by talking about software-defined vehicles. Again, there are examples given on what various OEMs are doing in India on software-defined vehicles, on artificial intelligence and cognitive capabilities. There are some examples given vis-a-vis ADAS. Connected intelligence services, you will see there are 100% connected trucks and buses now being delivered in the market with advanced telematics. And now we are also having different types of telematics, which not just gives you information, but also gives you predictive maintenance alerts to the consumers, to the customer. And now, of course, there's a reference mentioned here on next-gen materials. There are fossil-free steel used in the trucks, so there are different types of next-gen materials used in different trucks in the Indian market. So there's a lot happening in the commercial vehicle industry vis-a-vis digitalization. And you cannot not talk about hydrogen when you talk about commercial vehicle industry. So there's again a lot happening with hydrogen. As I mentioned, currently the price of the green hydrogen currently is roughly around $4 to $5 at present. It is expected that we will be able to produce green hydrogen in India at roughly $2 to $3 per kilogram by 2030. So, and there is a national green hydrogen mission which has been launched, and there is a lot of work happening in hydrogen. Many of our OEMs, there's reference to a few examples given here, but many of our OEMs are getting ready with hydrogen-based, both hydrogenized and hydrogen fuel cell-based commercial vehicles ready. So this reference to Tata Motors. They have already a facility coming up in Jharkhand, along with Cummins. They also brought out the first hydrogen fuel cell powered bus. Volvo Eicher is coming out with fuel cell truck and hydrogenized truck. So there is a lot happening on hydrogen space in the Indian commercial vehicle industry. So broadly, if I can just sum up the opportunity in India, which has been referred to, so I'll keep it very brief. There is a $3.13 billion production link incentive scheme, both for automobile and auto components. There is a $2.18 billion PLI scheme for advanced chemistry cell battery storage. There is a new scheme which is referred to on PM Electric Drive Revolution Innovative Vehicle Enhancement. There is PM E-Drive scheme, which is an outlay of roughly $1.31 billion. There is a new EV policy which is there, which will facilitate import duty on import of CBUs to roughly 15% if you are able to invest in pure EV product of $500 million, which is theirs. And this is 100% FDI on the automotive route. So there are different types of policy framework which are clearly there to enable industry to move towards electric mobility and alternate powertrains. So now I'll move on to the next agenda of my presentation, which is Bharat Mobility Global Expo. Honorable Prime Minister had given this vision many years back, what is called 7 Cs, which is common, connected, convenient, congestion-free, charged, clean, and cutting edge. And this is the ecosystem which we have used, and The reason why Bharat Mobility Global Expo stands out, or that's what we would want it to stand out, is because it covers the entire mobility landscape. And it goes beyond just the automobile, and the entire mobility landscape gets covered, and that's why it's an important platform to come and visit and experience. So as I said, this is inspired by the 7C vision of the Honorable Prime Minister. We had the first edition this year in February 2024, and we are now looking for the next edition in January 2025. So these are the partner organizations, and the reason why this is important is because there are different organizations that have come together, and these organizations represent different parts of the automobile value chain. So SIAM, which is what I belong to, represents the automobile manufacturers, vehicle manufacturers. ACMA represents the component manufacturers. ICEMA represents the construction equipment manufacturers. ACMA represents the automobile tire manufacturers. India Energy Storage Alliance, IESA, represents the battery manufacturers. NASSCOM represents the tech players. Indian Steel Association represents the automotive steel manufacturers. So you have the entire value chain coming together in this mobility space. And then of course there are CII, IBF and government institutions supporting us. It's basically being done under the aegis of the Ministry of Commerce, Government of India, and with EPC as a coordinating agency. And there are different ministries of the government involved, so there is a large amount of governmental support and partnership in this entire expo. Before I come on to the 2025 edition, just a bit brief on the 2024 edition. We had, it was at a very short notice, but we had 100,000 plus square meters of exhibit area. We had 150,000 visitors. We had 800 plus exhibitors, 500 plus international delegates, 20 plus conferences, and 2,500 plus conference delegates. But the key thing was we had all the key players who exhibited and showcased, ranging from automobile to auto component to different types of new technologies, which includes electric vehicle to flex fuel vehicle or hydrogen fuel cell. So we saw the entire technology range and display at the 2024 edition, which was this year in February. And the most important part is we had the Honorable Prime Minister inaugurating the exhibition and going on the show. 2025 edition again is representing the entire value chain, and as you can make out from the slide, it's automobiles, which is vehicle, auto components, batteries, construction equipment, e-mobility ecosystems, micro-mobility, which is a new element which is added this year, software, electronics, automotive steel, technology innovation, tires, urban mobility, again a new element added this year, and startups, and of course we have country pavilions, state pavilions, bicycle meets, and of course research organizations. This event will be now held on 17th to 22nd of January 2025 at 3 venues. There are 9 concurrent shows, 200,000 square meters. We are aiming that we will be targeting 500,000 visitors and 5,000 plus global buyers. So, as I said, there are 3 venues. This slide captures the first venue, which is Bharat Mandapam. And at Bharat Mandapam, we have 6 shows happening at the same time. One is the motor show, which is organized by SIAM, which is the vehicle show, which is the largest part of the show in Bharat Mandapam. But coinciding with that, and that's from 17th to 22nd of January. Coinciding with that, we also have the tire show, which is automotive tire manufacturers we are doing in one hall. We have the battery show, Bharat Battery Show, which is the battery manufacturers participating. We have the steel pavilion, automotive steel manufacturers. We have the mobility tech pavilion of NASSCOM, and we also have a cycle show, which is what I said, micro-mobility is being focused for the first time. All the 6 shows are happening in one venue, which is at Bharat Mandapam. The second venue is the Yashabhumi, which is in a place called Dwarka, which is where the component show, which is what President ACMA and DG ACMA referred to, is happening from 18th to 21st of Jan, which is in Yashabhumi, Dwarka. And the third venue, which is a place in Noida, that's a different venue altogether, where we are having 2 shows. One is on construction equipment and second is on urban mobility. So the entire mobility landscape and value chain will be on showcase, and this is a mix of B2C and the B2B shows. Coinciding with that, as always, we have a series of conferences lined up, and you will notice many of our association and partners are organizing their conferences, which are ranging from electric mobility to circularity, to biofuels, to road safety, to battery recycling. So the entire gamut will be there will be conferences discussed, and of course there will be a CEO's roundtable. So there will be a lot of these sessions happening coinciding with the main exhibition. As special attraction, under each of these shows, there are certain focus areas. For example, when the Auto Expo Motor Show, there will be a separate pavilion on road safety, decarbonization, circularity. So we'll be showcasing what automobile industry is doing in that regard. Under the tire show, there is a separate specific show on road safety again. Bharat Battery Show, there's a separate specific focus on battery technology and recycling. Auto Expo Component Show, there will be a lot of focus on different, there are country pavilions, 5 country pavilions from Germany, UK, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. And there are focused display pavilions focusing on batteries, on accessories, infotainment. So there are some focus areas, garage equipment on the component show. And in Greater Noida, on the urban mobility show, there's a lot of focus on air mobility. So you will see different types of drones on showcase there. And of course, we have the power construction equipment show. So as I mentioned, the entire mobility value chain will be on showcase and display at Power Mobility Global Expo. So we would like to cordially invite you to participate from Germany as an exhibitor, as a visitor, as a speaker, and of course we'll part by us in the meets. We already have confirmed participation from various delegations across the world, which are largely the automobile manufacturing countries, but also company delegations. So, and this will only grow as we move forward. So we also have VDA confirmed that they will be participating from Germany at the Mobility Global Expo, and there are different types of delegations also which companies are bringing from their corporate headquarters. And if you notice, this slide talks about some of the exhibitors, and you will see all the global players and Indian players who will be exhibiting and showcasing their products and technologies on display at the show. Automotive OEMs, all vehicle manufacturers are exhibiting, tire OEMs, construction equipment OEMs, so all prominent players in the entire mobility value chain will be participating in the exhibition. Auto components, just name a few of them, but there are much more in number. So all the major players from auto components, steel, battery. So that's it from my side. Just to sum up, the entire mobility value chain will be on showcase, and I think please do come and visit and look at opportunities to engage with India further. Thank you very much.
Address a great thanks to Mrs. Mans and Mr. Oppel for their ongoing work for this Indian collaboration. I think it's really wonderful that you are always so active and asking, sometimes not get really the right reaction. Also in my company, it always takes a little bit of time to find then the right people. Thanks for all these activities. I think it's really important because we live from this collaboration. And I think it's not normal that you are so engaged in this collaboration. Thank you again.
Thank you.
So, let me start with a very short overview how we see the Indian market, and I will try to make it as precise as possible. My colleagues summarized a little bit, so the slides are coming really directly from my Indian colleagues. It's not a European view on it, so it's more really coming from our Indian view, and we share the slides with you, so we don't need to make so many photos. You can do this, of course, but it's not necessary. We will share the slides with you. Let me say we see really a strong growth rate in India, and we have heard it, of course, many times, but this time I think it's really foreseeable. There are a lot of activities, they removed a lot of hurdles, and so we believe really that there will be a strong growth in the near-term future, and that gives us really a lot of hope, especially for our business, for the commercial vehicle business. Whether that's 7 to 10 or 6 to 11 or so, we will see in terms of the combined annual growth rate, but I think there is really a big improvement over there. The second topic is, of course, something which Germany at least should be careful. Yeah, so India expects that by the end of this decade, they will overturn Germany and Japan as the third largest economy. I think, of course, there's always competition, so Germany should also think about why they're losing this competition. So I think, but it's also wonderful to see that India, with all the population on one side, but also with these very engaged people, moves to that level. And I have a lot of Indian colleagues. I can tell you, when we finish our job at Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock, and then the offices are empty, our Indian colleagues are continuing to work. Yeah. So you see that. So increase of manufacturing, this is really an important part. So part of the success of Germany is that we still keep manufacturing. That is to be improved on the Indian side, and I think we can see it also, and you see later on our numbers. So this is really very, very important, and infrastructure is really a key to everything. I think it's clear infrastructure is important to economic development. There are lots of activities, you can see that later on the slides, but I think it's really worth to say that, because if you have roads, if you have, and everybody who is going from time to India knows, he knows that, or he or she knows how important and how difficult it sometimes really is to have the right roads to be used. So a little bit looking to the Indian commercial vehicle market. So, and this is the view really from a manufacturer who has more or less only medium to heavy commercial vehicles. You see in the past there was really a drop, especially around 2020. Of course, the COVID consequences, but also the ramp up after that was really fascinating in a way, but we still don't have the numbers before the COVID crisis. But now, if you see the outlook going to 450,000, of course this is an outlook, this is our estimation, partly combined with that what some forecasting institutes are doing. But if we would reach 450,000 medium to heavy duty trucks, that is much more than we do have in Europe. So just to say that number. So in Europe we usually have around 300,000 heavy duty vehicles. And we would expect that there will be more in the market by 2030 in India. Also, the way of transporting goods might change, at least to our forecast. You see, right now we have a lot of rigids in operation, and we do believe that we see more and more so-called tractor-trailer combinations. You see it on the lower side, on the left lower side. So that's definitely something which is also showing that the efficiency of the system is growing, because in a tractor-trailer combination you can be much more flexible than you can be on the rigid side. So that is really an important sign, so to say, how this country is improving also logistic operations. Yeah, there are a lot of mega trends, I would say, in India. One, of course, has pros and cons. As you have heard, I'm working mainly on this regulatory field, and sometimes we have more, how to say, challenges than opportunities in that way. So sometimes we always need to look whether we over-regulate or not. In the past, there has been, let's say, a lot of activities with regard to, let's say, Bharat 3 to Bharat 4 and so on. Now we are on Bharat 6. We, of course, discuss, and I come to that later, also Bharat 7. Cleaning the air in India is a very important topic, as you know, and therefore I think we will welcome these activities, of course, but it must be done in a way that is not really hurting the industry too much. But you know that in Europe we have Euro 7, China is arguing towards that, and the US are in that direction. So it's natural that also other markets will follow. Then the second topic, of course, and I come to a lot of other regulations a little bit later. The other topic, of course, is definitely the infrastructure development. This is a key for us, because for infrastructure, for building roads, you need trucks, and that is helpful, at least for the development of my company. But it's also important for the society in India, and so I think it's in all minds that this will help the development of the country as well as the industry. And then a lot of services are improving, and you see more and more of these activities, and that is certainly something which is helping also our industry in a way. So you need more, you have more demand, and you see more flexibility in it. And then a key, of course, in India is very, I would say, flexible on that side. So the alternative fuel system, you know, in Europe we have a very zero emission dominated regulatory framework. So that's favoring definitely battery trucks and also hydrogen trucks. But it's not favoring any biofuel, it's not favoring any LNG or liquefied biogas. India is much more flexible on that. So this is something which is on the table and we need to look into. And then optimizing the system in a way that you might have the chance really to increase the use of trucks and the massive infrastructure investments. So that's driving really a little bit also the discussion on higher gross vehicle weights and of course also the higher powered trucks. So also developing engines with much higher horsepowers. Yeah, and then something is really important. Everybody who goes into the cities and see when a truck is entering, an old truck is entering the city, then you see all these, let's say, exhaust streams out of those trucks, and they are really harming everybody. And so it's really important to get the old trucks out of operation. There is a regulatory framework, there's a regulatory roadmap. So we have already a lot of things in place. You see camera systems, especially towards the back. So we're talking about safety systems. You know that India is really suffering from a lot of traffic accidents, and we need to become better. My company safety is really, DNA. We're doing a lot. So we are also transforming that. We have a lot of things already since many years in place in India. But I think now the regulatory framework goes towards that, which we really do agree. Another topic, for example, is the HVAC, so the air cabin system, the air conditioning system becomes a regulation, or it is a regulation, will be implemented soon. And then, of course, there are things like improving tires, etc. And you see a lot of other activities. So the regulatory framework is growing. It is mostly helping, I would say, especially with regard to air quality topics. Yeah, a few words on DICV. So Daimler India Commercial Vehicles, as we call it, we started 2012. We did not connect to another manufacturer, local manufacturer. We started by our own. And the plant is, for those who are a little bit familiar, is on the southern eastern part, so Ragadan. So Chennai, close to Chennai, is that plant. It's a very large plant from our side. We have a capacity to build roughly about 40,000 heavy commercial vehicles, so 36 trucks and 4,000 buses as well. We have potential also to expand, so it's really on the market that we keep that growing and growing. We have an own test track over there. We are doing everything by our own in that respect, and of course this is important part for us. And the total investment, important part, because we also do export from India to other markets. So we not only for the local market, we do also things for other markets. Just a few examples from the product range. So you see we are building engines over in India. India is very important for us with regard to engine production. We believe that we have superior advantage over our competitors. It might be that the competitors see it differently, but if you see what we are doing, and let's say also if you compare it to the local manufacturers, I think there is some very positive development ongoing. Then, of course, as mentioned, we looked very much into modern cabin design. We are also, with regard to crash requirements, we adopted our local Indian trucks to the European crash testing norms. We have as mentioned, we have already since quite a while the air conditioning systems on board, and we have, of course, also other safety topics implemented already. Another topic for us is very important, the lifetime. In India, there are very, very challenging road conditions and operating conditions. Overloading is an issue and other things. And therefore, I think really the robustness of a truck is really very important. We really claim that we do have a 3 times higher B10 life compared to our competitor trucks. So B10 means really that 10% of a certain quantity of trucks goes out of operation at the end of the lifetime. 90% of them remain in operation. And we claim that our trucks can do 3 times of that B10 lifetime. We are usually focusing on 1 million kilometers in that operation, and the powertrain warranty we do give is 6 years and 600,000 kilometers. And I think, as far as we know, this is the benchmark. I don't want to make a sales pitch, so I'm not a sales guy, and therefore I just leave that with you a little bit to have an overview on our product range in India. As mentioned, we are growing, and from year to year we will offer more and more products. We are also doing, and we have a company claim. We are really focusing on also the production-related issues with regard, especially to CO2 emissions, clean air, etc. So we have built large photovoltaic plants over there. And we try really to achieve by 2025 that we do 90% renewable energy, that we use 90% renewable energy, and we continue to do that, and we are also in exchange with our suppliers to motivate them to go in the same direction. I can tell you CO2 reduction is on the key priority of our CEO, so he's really pushing very much to reduce CO2 emissions all around the world. And then finally, I think the last slide is really something on the Indian policy. This is definitely a very important part. I don't want to go in all details, but what I really wanted to say is there is what we believe is an Indian own way how to introduce or to transform the industry, transform the society. With their fundings, they're trying really to go into on the one side with regard to the electricity production in their own way, so really pushing for large quantities of photovoltaic fields, etc., and wind as well, wherever it's possible. Then on the other side, they are really going the same direction like we do. They are really moving towards a hydrogen economy. We see a lot of activities, so the target really is, I think, by 2030 to install a production capacity of electrolyzers roughly about 25 gigawatt, which is really very high. There are subsidies in place to support hydrogen as a fuel. So there are many other topics which could be mentioned here, but I think it's really impressive to see how India is supporting these activities and trying to push really the local manufacturers. So and we are doing most of that, what we try to do really in a local way. That's it, more or less. So I'm happy to answer questions as far as I can them. I have to say that in former times I have been several times per year in India. Unfortunately, last time it was a little bit not so much or not so often, but I really feel it always fantastic when I see all my colleagues to work in the plant and to try to push our products into the market. Thank you very much.
A few thoughts I'd like to share from my side, just a little bit on the background, about 30 years of experience in the industry, half of it in India, half of it around the world in Europe and Southeast Asia. Very much first in the OEM side and now on the supplier side. And 25 years back I have had the opportunity to introduce and start a product in India for Volvo, which still does very well. So that, of course, gave you a lot of experience of what India is really about, starting from zero and trying to become a hero, as they say. About ZF then, I'd just like to say that our footprint in India is strong. It can be much stronger. We have about 18 plants in India, about 16,000 people, 10 technical centers, of which the largest is what you mentioned in Hyderabad, where we do cutting edge work with 3,500 engineers out of one spot and rapidly growing. We do about over €1 billion in India. Small part of the 46 billion euro which ZF Group does, but hopefully we'll work hard and change that in the coming years, given the way India is growing. So what do I want to do here? I want to share some things with you here as I look at India, having stayed very much in India, then having looked at India from the outside. So a little bit of different view from my eyes. So I think let me start first of all from the point that okay, for us at ZF, sustainability is extremely important, and India, there is very high in focus on whether it is on renewable energy, it is on recycling, it is on scrappage, it is on also very much diversity and inclusion. So those are things which are very high on the agenda in India, which were nice words probably 15, 20 years back, but today it's very different. Let me then start from what's happening in India, and maybe I hope my fellow nationals from India will agree. I think what's changed in the last 10, 15 years are certain basics. Most of us probably here are aware of mathematics or are engineers. So India has always been for 20, 25 years a sine theta, cos theta wave. Goes up for 3 years and then the business goes down for 3 years. Comes up again, but the charts always show that next 20 years they're only going to grow. But I feel, at least from my global experience, this is going to change now in India. And that's why I love being in India in this stint of mine, because India is very much where China was probably 20 years back, 2005 to 2015. Every time you land in Shanghai, you find every 3 months something new. And that is what India is about today. What has led to that change and why will the sine theta, cos theta wave differ and it will grow is for some reasons which I feel are true. If I may say, the poverty line is down from 30% to less than 10%. People in the poverty line are given in today money if they don't have a job. They have free health insurance and they have a 3-year scheme where they can build homes for themselves. So that I think was always a big challenge in India and impacted the economy, and I think that we need to do much better, but at least some basics are taken care of, which is leading to growth in India. There's very high mobile connectivity. You would have seen a picture of vegetables. Yeah, you can. I remember being in India always and having to take out cash. These days, I think my countrymen will agree here that even if you are going to buy even a very small thing which could cost a cent, you can pay it from the mobile phone. So that's the new India. I can tell you that about 6-7 years back, I was in a cab. I think it was Bangalore, and I had a problem with my mobile phone, and I couldn't solve it. And my driver parked the car on the side and said, "Sir, can I do it for you?" And he sorted it out. So the level of smartphones usage in India is extremely high. All of them are not iPhones, but I think that is the new India which is changing in. And why I mention these things? Because they will impact us in business as we go along. GST has been a very good occurrence. It was quite a debate, which happens in democracy. But since it comes in every quarter, we tend to do much better, and there's a lot of money the government is getting because of that, and therefore you see very high amount of money going into infrastructure, which always we've all been asking, why does money not go in infrastructure? Why are the roads not better? And so on and so forth. 40,000 plus kilometers of highway ready, 4 lane and 8 lanes, and I've been on some of them and I can promise you they're really good. Are we on the European standard? No, but are they good enough? Yes. City is a bit of a mess. The reason being everything is under construction. I entered ZF 1 year back, sitting in my office on a very tall building, and I have 2 sides open to windows. 8 buildings are coming up in the last 1 year. 8 buildings around me on 2 sides, and on top of that a metro there. So India is a construction site, and that is what will lead to growth, and that's why the construction equipment market is slated to grow from 110,000 to 250,000, 120% growth in the next 5 to 6 years. And I think that is reflected also on other areas, may not be to that extent, but investments in infrastructure is the key. And I think this government has learned it, that it will happen. I would say that big change is local corporates who actually were very happy what they did in India. And you will probably go to the booths, and we have a number of companies here, but there are many more. But they have learned now to go global. So they really want to become global standard and not remain as local standard. And that's a big change, because 10, 12 years back, if I would go to the government and say, well, I have a proposal, and then I used to work for Volvo, and then they would say, well, it's very good, the roads are like this, we can't help you, we don't have the money, whatever you make for what is there in India. And today it is a different scope altogether. When you go to, and Vinnie is not here, but Rajesh, you're here, when you go to the government, they tell you, look, we want to be as good as Europe or US, if you have anything better, please tell us. Money is not a constraint, and let's make it happen, but please try to do it in India. So that's the big change, that from importing, it's very much a scope about make in India. India is a land of opportunity and challenges. Either it goes up or goes down, there's nothing in between. Yeah, but it's very clear that if companies like ours or yours have to succeed in India, it has to be local. So what are we changing, for example, in ZF? We already fairly large supplier in India for our OEMs, including Daimler and everyone else from Tata, Leyland, Volvo, Eicher, etc., etc. But I think what is changing, and of course, pass cars and rail industry and construction equipment industry and two-wheeler industry and so on and so forth. But what is changing for us is that if we have to grow in India, which we will by aiming to do about 300% of what we do today in the next 5 years, it has to be local sourcing, it has to be local engineering, it has to be local manufacturing, and it has to be local prototyping and validation. Because when companies like us go, everybody loves our technology. There is no doubt from our local customers who are very large in India that yes, we like what you do, but on responsiveness, you're zero. On cost competitiveness, you're zero. And they are right there, and I think that is what we need to change, because what necessarily works in the developed world doesn't work there. On the other hand, in India, I think our OEMs are learning that they need to have a more long-term vision rather than telling us be ready tomorrow morning. Yeah? So it's a balance which is happening. So what's happening in the industry, especially with, and I have seen this in the last couple of years, I've gone back to India, that ACMA and let's say here, of course with VDA, but very much in India, SIAM, they're collaborating a lot with each other. And collaboration is the key. So everybody is not doing their own thing. People are collaborating, and you saw what you showed here in mobility, coming in Bharat Mobility. It's never been that everyone has been together. I see that construction equipment and drones are also coming in there. So I think that's a big change, and this will lead to something in India. So quickly then, something's happening there. The top three players command about 70% to 90% of the market. As an example, go to the commercial vehicle industry. Tata, Leyland, Volvo, Eicher together have about 90% of the market share. You go to pass car, you have Suzuki, Hyundai and Tata. Between them, they have 85%. And same in construction equipment. So I think that for others to go in, it has to be very much local sourcing and local manufacturing, and that's how you get the market. Things are changing. The market has been fairly primitive in the car segment. 40% of the cars till a couple of years back were less than 4 meters. Today, 52% of the cars in India are SUVs, which means that they are asking for better components, coming more to the European standards, and the government is putting in a lot of regulatory conditions to have safety norms as they are world over. And that is really helping not only the local manufacturers to go up in ACMA, but also suppliers like us to bring in new technology, which all of a sudden becomes valid, which was not valid when the basic technologies were there. So we do see big growth. So on the car market, it's SUV which will drive the growth, and to some extent electric. On the commercial vehicle buses, already 25,000 electric buses have been ordered, and very much the revolution will now start on the truck side. A lot of our OEMs are developing truck platforms, which they have not done before. Construction equipment industry will double. I already said that. The Indian automobile market last year was about 150 billion US dollars. So it's already a large market, which will go to $200 billion in the next 5 to 6 years. And that gives us great opportunity to come in with our products as long as we localize them and engineer them out of India. Very much investment in innovation, new platforms and multi-fuel technologies is required. India is a large country. The only thing that we tell government is we don't mind multi-fuel technologies, but you have to make sure volumes come in so that if there is mass volume, the possibility to give cost-effective products will become much better. Digital transformation, you've seen the IT revolution in India, is enormous. That is really helping up India as a country to scale up. And also you see what's happening in GCC, and I think somebody shared earlier. We have 1.69 million people working in the GCC setup, and companies like ZF, we just have probably very few, and we could maybe go up about 500% or more in that area. So that's an opportunity not only we have, but some of you have, to do things out of India because of the 1 million plus engineers which come out. And of course, it's still a challenge, of course, to get manpower.